let's get started with eco herb. So, that's pretty much where we want to start our new program with nowadays with T-Mobile and Google Docs. And, that's pretty much just being able to be more of a producer or illustrator or, more into the district management areas. So, I was being able to teach more about advertising and, getting more towards marketing at the time. So, I was working with 96 different GDP units, 76 different GDP units, 36 different GDP units. And, the thing about it is they're more than 444 different meals apart from each other. So, that's just using a whole $552 to promote more for uh, the health sufficiency and being able to promote more for that scale of ratio at that time. So it's pretty much keeping everything healthy and costly at a healthy rate as you maintain a gross income of free trade investments, being able to endow with Google Docs, PMC2 squared at the time. So it's pretty much as you're using PMC2 squared and using it for different categories of yellow, blue, and green statistics. Using it for construction, agriculture, and infrastructure. Infrastructure. So it's pretty much working with 1986 to 2006 to 2023. That's pretty much where we've been at. Ever since then. So I was working with spring to summer to September 18th and, understanding more about Thanksgiving, Rodeo Austin, Memorial Day, President's Day, 4th of July, New Year's, Independence Day. You working on the more independent strive of 1969 of 2022. So, as being able to know more about 2010 of 2023 and understanding more about the elegance and technology that's been renovated since then. So it's pretty much working with LG, Samsung, um, LG, Samsung, and it's materials at the time. So just knowing more about combine materials at the time. So that's pretty much where you're using more for the urban day fashion of 2036 and 2046. So it's pretty much where we're using more for Cadillac 2050, 2056 at the time. So I was working with 9,000 of 90,000 of being able to know more about your coordinate points and knowing about your locations at the time. So it's pretty much working from location on Google on Comcast, Comcast grid midpoints to Google Docs at the time. So it's pretty much working with the coordinates to location as you work from Comcast grid midpoints to Google Docs at the time. So, it's being able to work on your own registration, on your own duplication. And, that's pretty much how you memoir a database at the time. So, that's pretty much how you do majority of that kinesiology of 2014, of 2023 at the time. So, it's pretty much where you going there and it's working out 600 files, 67 files, 97 files, 37 files, 600 files, 900 files, 637 files. You're working with different files within that breach right there. So it's pretty much where you're using more of bill statements, more of 96, 36, 15 different documents of that bill statement. So, it's pretty much working with at least 736 bill statements within that same price range that you can deal with for that next 7 weeks of 7 months of leisure at the time. So, the point is at my point of proposition is, it's not that you can pay for it, is that, that you can get a full amount of consumption rate. You can get a full lifetime diet off of getting enjoyment off of something that you enjoy at the time. So that takes time to relieve off of, and then you need um, then it comes a time where you have more time, and this is just working with the LAT situations. You're working with the LAT U.S. government situations or the federal government situations of the mid states and of the mid states and of the Great Plains. So it's pretty much working with at least 78 documents and 78 different bill statements at the time. So, it's pretty much how you be able to improve the mill as far as knowing the invisible rates of Cabbage Industries at the time. So, that's pretty much looking at blue, green, and white statements that covers its insurance protection. So, it's pretty much where you're using insurance protection to promote at least 96%, 36%, 76% of your college occupation at the time. So it's pretty much where you're using 7, 6, 36 different occupations by 2214 of 2918. So it's pretty much where you're using majority of your time, and understanding more about the diction of your theoretical statements at the time. So it's pretty much as you working with more inspired programs. You get more toward the commencement, the invitation, the ceremonies. That's pretty much what they're talking about in a way. So it's pretty much where we're looking at 78 documents, 89 documents, 72 documents. It's pretty much just within those documents telling you more about the programs that you know of. And, this is basically just helping you keep up, as well as the group keeping up with, majority of the things that they need to keep up with for 2036. So, not only was that at graduation, a high school graduation, but that was at Avid's Avid certification as well. So, it's pretty much being able to be acknowledged, be a nominee, and, being able to show common faith within, those inspirees as if they were TCS or swag, being able to know more of that common attribute at the time. So, it's pretty much as you learn 78 months, 82 months, 28 months, you learn more about Frost Interscopes at the time, of Hugo, of Interscopes, of Frost Interscopes, and PMC2 squared. And, it's pretty much just working with Google Docs, working with Comcast grid midpoints. So, other than that, you just illustrating on, being a data analyst and an inventory specialist and a district manager and a district coordinator at the same time. So, it's pretty much where you're working with 78 routes, 62 routes, 42 routes. And, the thing is, they're all on different streets. And, it's pretty much, where you're looking at least 647 streets of a category at the time. So, it's pretty much working with 66,886 different metropolitans at the hour of 336 different hours of the day at the time. So, it's pretty much working with Workday, WeWork, Granger, Penske, and, working with at least 37% of interest going towards 90,000. That's the primary cost of, what intuitive language is like in Greek mythology, French, you know, Greek mythology, French, Greek mythology, French, and New Deal era. And, that's pretty much where you're looking at 1936 of 2010, and, understanding more about the looks of 2006 and 2023 is pretty much where we get into at the 2012 meetings of track, wrestling, football, in all that area of playoffs, district by district, and zone at the time. So, it's pretty much where you're looking at the zone look at the time. So, it's pretty much where you beat the average of that 36%. So you beat zone, and now you're in by district. So, it's pretty much where all that goes to after, you become offensive MVP of 1996 to 2076. So, it's pretty much where you make a rep at those replications, more often from 2015 to 2023. So, that's just a new look of a 2018 Chevy Silverado LTZ. So, that's just pretty much the 2018 look of 2025, if that's a prominent version of, the truck that you want or the truck that you prefer at the time. So, it's pretty much where, you're using that detail 2023 to 2027. And, that's a list of the possible truck that could capably make your traditions more adventurous. And although, on this memoir we're just doing previews, so, that's pretty much where we doing our overview on. So, it's pretty much more like an overview memoir. So, it's pretty much as we get more with the previews, that's pretty much where you're learning more about commercials and what you think about commercials and how they affected more of your book study at the time, as you focus on 78,896% books at the time. So, it's pretty much working with your urban popular books and Chronicles of Narnia, Polar Express, and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory at the time. So, it's pretty much just working with those books like those, and, gaining your connotation and, more of your diction for those 12th grade manners at the time. So, it's pretty much as you working on 12th grade, you working on a more provision manner of 98,000 versus 90 million at the time. So, it's pretty much as you get excessively brilliant and in knowledge of, what and, being able to combine with cultures that, have that primary gift out of 786% of other components at the time. So, I was just looking at Comcast grid midpoints and, being able to look at other locations within that midpoint and, being able to know more about, what drives this part of Google Docs of Mazda, Lexus, Audi, Infinity, Maserati. I was just looking at the details of that good stuff. So, I was pretty much looking at 1639 to 1896 to 2023 at the time. So, it's pretty much as we looking at least 60,000 shrimp being fried at the time. That's working with at least 16 months of 643 months of registering at the time. So, that's just dropping the fish down, dropping the product down at the time. So, as long as you stay steady with your balance and what to manage your statistics with, as far as to judge your debate on where to drop your product. It's pretty much working on your own material devices at the time. So, it's pretty much just working with the tyranny conduct of material devices at the time. So, it's pretty much where you're working with Mr. Catfish material devices at the time. So, it's pretty much as you find a code for that, you pretty much looking for, a CarMax detail like it, or a T-Mobile deal like it, or a Granger deal like it, or a Penske deal like it, dealing with, more of those results. That's pretty much we're working with 17 years of reference, not 86 years of reference, 96 years of reference. And, I was just working with the average 17.1 district at the time as you figure out, more situations for your beginning. And, that's pretty much where you get more of that detail. So other than that, we're talking about, other than that, we're talking about urbanization, migration, and gentrification. So, that's pretty much working with Jim Crow, that's working with self-evidentry. So, basically, can't no man tell you nothing extra if, you already did your 2007, 2018 experience and skill at the time. So, as I was working with ABF, PFG, UPS. So, you was working with the full collaboration of, components. And, the thing about it is you had your intuitions of, the time that they were aroused. So, that's pretty much where you use at least 98,896 26 different points for, for at least 70,000 locations at the time. So, it's pretty much looking at Penske, Granger, T-Mobile, and looking at the coordinates of the midpoints um, of the Yugo selections that you have on purple, peach, and green collaborations. And every location is worth about $400. So, that's pretty much where, you spend at least $400 four times. You got to spend it four times in order for them to get a complete virtual look of what that costs at the time. So, it's pretty much where you're working with purple, red, and green of $776 of yellow, green, and blue. So, it's pretty much working with some type of violation of jurisdiction at the time. So, it's working with 1976, being 36 years old, and 76 years old in 1936 to 2010 at the time. So, that's pretty much just working with the self-evidentry of Jim Crow, of gentrification after 1976, of 2007, of 2023 at the time. So, it's pretty much as we work with different establishments of City of Austin, Austin Code, Austin Water, LCRA, Austin Aquatics, UPS, DHL, ABF. It's pretty much working with the whole collaboration of, your private programs at the time. So, it's pretty much paying attention to EcoLeaf mega platforms as it provide a federal government situation for ourselves to create a collaboration of recreational beliefs and traits for our personal recreational mind states at the time. So, without this demonstration, you would be totally out whack. That's 98,000% of interest going toward, those types of contrasts at the time. So, it's pretty much where you're using 98%, 78%, 98%. And, that's just basically going with a 9.1 position coming from strong safety at the time. You play strong safety for a whole 9 years. That's pretty much what you're going to come out with at the end of the day. So, I was working with at least 98,000 yards of reception yards at the time. So, I was pretty much working with at least 14 to 20 touchdowns at that time. So, that's pretty much how you start that on Max Preps, or, on Austin Statesman, or on Dave Campbell's. We just being able to give shout outs to 796 yards being promoted at the time, whether it was 14 touchdowns or 44 touchdowns. So, it's pretty much where you're using more of your state general population of general state at the time of yellow, red, and blue situation. So, it's pretty much as you're using 78 units, 86 units, 36 units, you being able to be more of that position that you wanted to be when you started. So, it's pretty much working with 1936 to 2036 to 2076, and just working with that several systems, those generation systems, and being able to work with the whole position within generators at the time. That's what it's called. It's called a generator. So, you're pretty much working with generators at the time as you work with outings and events and all types of concerts and assemblies at the time. So, it's pretty much working with concerts, assemblies, and ceremonies at the time. So, it's pretty much as you work with those types of details in 1976 to 2003 to 2015 to 2023. You're working with more of your local tyranny of, different districts along 13 states at the time. So, it's pretty much looking at 13 states of yellow, orange, and green in 1936 to 2036. So, it's pretty much looking at a little bit of Oklahoma, looking at a little bit of Denver, looking at Nebraska, looking at Idaho, Montana. That's at least $98,886 away from $333. So, that's at least, 30,000 over that $50,000 that they plan to make in their next 37 years. So, that's pretty much over their equilibrium at the time. So, I was looking at 3686 of 1936 to 1986 at the time. So, I was pretty much looking at Alabama or Georgia or Alabama, Georgia, that's looking at Alabama, Georgia, and Texas at the time. So, I was pretty much looking at 2006 of 1986. So, it's pretty much where you're looking at more of Tennessee with Arizona with, and this is just 1976 series. So, it's pretty much what you got after 2023. So, it's pretty much where you're using more of, specified devices at the time. So, it's pretty much working with the generation as an inventory specialist and, being able to work with that for 36 months, 86 months, 26 months, and doing it throughout the business hours instead of the nights at the time. So, it's pretty much working with as much business hours as we can, working with 730 business hours, 930 business hours, 430 business hours. So, it's pretty much just working with more of a 19.1 schedule for myself. So, it's pretty much just working with enterprise interscopes and, dealing with 19.1 units at a time as we create a position for district coordinator at the time. So, it's pretty much as you're using more ratios, you're using yellow, green, and orange statistics to provide more for the positive effects of the itchy scratchy situation at the time. So, that's actually being able to resolve your problem and, be able to resolve it with a positive resolution at the time. So, it's pretty much as we're working with better solutions of inventory specialists and data analysts and district manager and district coordinator, it's pretty much where we're being able to use more experience, more skill, being able to open those doors, being able to jump in a car, or be able to exercise our liberal rights as far as what you do when you get in the car and how you rejuvenate yourself. So it's working with the average day charger effects of what the charger works on in its enterprise interscope selection. So I was just working with the Mogul Protection Agency, being able to know more about the lifestyle you have to live in order to protect and keep everything safe. So it's being able to work with those consent forms and I-9 forms and information forms. So it's pretty much as you want to be, as you want more information on safety requirements and safety regulations. We don't hesitate to be able to point those out to you and give you a full authorized content of that good stuff. So I was working with 13 charges, 39 charges, 56 charges, being able to provide more of a positive plural information for the group is pretty much what we want at the end of the day. So it's pretty much just working with more charges at the end of the day in my proposition. So it's pretty much as we were working on Dr. Seuss of plural demand, and working with um, more of free trade for ourselves, working on free trade investments of U.S. government, macroeconomics, and world history at the time. So that's pretty much as we focusing on 2006 of 2023. That's pretty much as we focusing on 93 months, 63 months, 15 months, of workday business, and working with its qualifications at the time. So did I work the amount of time? Yes, that was a qualified working experience. Did you gather as much information as you need to? Yes, I gathered as much information as I needed to. That was a qualifying amount. Did you make different descriptions of the diction that you wanted to make? Yes, I did make that. And you have a lot of objectives to go with that as well. So, it's pretty much working with Crest, is working with Grand, that's working with Cinnabon, that's working with Catfish and more.